Yes, sir.
The topic of fixed versus opening has come up in discussions I've had with people for the past 3 or 4 months. And I guess I hear from you that it is a fait accompli, that it is an opening bridge. That is a little bit puzzling because of a number of factors. One of the reasons that folks had talked about a fixed versus opening was minimizing the impact, construction impact in the immediate area of the downtown. And it would seem to me to be sensible that it would be less impact, but I think you've said it isn't. Further, a fixed bridge going into the future, and not just dealing with the immediate time, would seem to be much less maintenance. There aren't large towers, there are not 4 large motors, there's no operating costs, there's no continual maintenance costs beyond that of a normal highway bridge practically. So I guess I'm kind of missing what that future cost is and differential between a fixed bridge and an opening bridge. Has that been spelled out someplace?
Yeah, so I'll kick this off, and then Chris can fill in the details. You are correct in that we went through the environmental planning process, and like I said, we looked at fixed bridge, rehab, movable, in all various configurations and span lengths and things of that nature. I think there was over 70 alternatives that were analyzed. We did look at life cycle costs as one of the criteria in terms of weighing between different alternatives. And one of the slides that we went through, we talked about, sorry, I want to find it here. And this is also in the EA and the EIE, and I think we also talked about it, like I said, in that December meeting where we specifically, the whole 2.5-hour meeting was about the various alternatives and how, what the more details were associated with it, because we certainly understood that there was misunderstanding or questions as to, like when I say that a fixed bridge is going to take just as long to build and it's going to be as disruptive and things like that. So in that December meeting, we went through in pretty great detail as to why that was. The alternative that is in the document and that was recommended as part of the process, like John talked about, is a 240-foot vertical lift. And this was an evolution to end up with this preferred alternative. And it really, in terms of, it allows us to do the foundations outboard. You can see that we have a much longer span length so that we don't affect, to a large extent, the existing bridge operations. We also, it minimizes risk. We're replacing 2 tracks at a time. Fewest foundations of water. I think I talked a little bit about that. But with that, I think I'll have Chris maybe just add some additional detail in response to your question.
Before you stop that, you also had in this document, because I do recall some of that, the operating cost of having 4 motors and lifting this thing up and down and maintaining it.
Yeah,
Yep.
So Chris can speak to that as well.
Yeah, so this is a popular topic. And in fact, before the formal portion of the meeting tonight, I spent some time talking about this very topic as it relates to long-term maintenance and inspection and ensuring that all of those protocols are in place. So, and I'll keep referring back to the environmental document. And within that document, in addition to anticipated construction costs for each of the alternatives, the anticipated life cycle costs were also determined. And so how those get developed it's a process that takes the anticipated life of the structure, say 100 years, right? And each and every single year, there are dollars assigned to the various needs of that particular alternative, whether it be just a routine inspection, a biennial inspection, a detailed inspection, and all these types of things have specified intervals on when they occur. And then there's a certain level of effort that gets assigned to those different tasks. And then over the course of time, Just like, think about your car needs maintenance and things wear out and things of that nature. So although the walk bridge is designed to have, say, a 100-year life, there are certain things over the course of time that will require repair and even replacement. And those allocations are made throughout that 100-year distribution of the life. So for example, at year 50, there may be a $500,000 repair job assumed for certain components, and those all get calculated and annualized over the course of the life of the project. And all that information is presented in the environmental assessment. As it pertains to the particular...
rough numbers,
Sure.
like $1 million a year operating cost?
Well, it gets annualized over that 100 years, taking into account, down the road, some bigger ticket features taking place. But those same type of larger repair and maintenance operations still occur on a fixed bridge as well. Now, granted, you do have the added expense, say, for the mechanical and the electrical systems. And I think a lot of issues that are prevalent in older movable spans is because they weren't maintained. And then you get to a point where you have to do something and you're beyond the point of no return of trying to repair something that is 100 years old. So from an industry standpoint, maintenance and operation of these movable spans is very prevalent and first and foremost in the minds of bridge owners. And so they take a proactive approach in understanding what those needs are through the use of the modern equipment, whether it be the mechanical system or the electrical system. They're oftentimes self-maintaining because those suppliers understand that there's a need to maintain and operate these bridges. So to say that maintenance and operation is not going to happen on this structure would be inaccurate. It will happen, but through design development and through construction, a detailed plan gets put in place, and it's incumbent that that plan be implemented to ensure that breakdowns don't occur and that maintenance can be predictable as planned.
Well, I don't want to beat this to death. But
Yeah.
if you take $1 million per year and you have a 100-year life, that's $100 million in today's cost.
That's right.
$100 million versus a fixed bridge that doesn't have that $100 million expenditure. And I don't know if that was part of your decision making, but it would seem to me an important aspect of it.
It certainly is, yeah. And I frankly haven't looked at those numbers for a while, but we have all those numbers and can provide you with what those differences are between a fixed and a movable span. But it is on the order of more than $1 million a year annualized over that 100 years. But it's the difference between the fixed and the movable, surprisingly, aren't that great, even though you do have those periodic occurrences of the mechanical and electrical repairs that are needed. Be happy to share that with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you visited the fixed bridge alternative, I believe you were only considering a fixed bridge with 60 feet of clearance, and you had a big ramp leading up to it that extended for miles, and that's why the cost was so great. If you built a bridge like that, I believe you have about 26 feet of clearance between the bottom of the bridge and the river at high tide. And barges can get under 28 feet.
No, actually, the barges can't. It's the tugs.
It's the
That's
tug.
That's the problem.
I believe it's 28
Right.
feet on the tug.
So what was looked at on the fixed bridge alternative side of things was actually 3 alternatives. The high-level alternative that you referenced, right, and that would provide a vertical clearance that matches the I-95 crossing. And then we looked at what we call a low-level fixed span that essentially kept the top of rail where it is today, and then tried to fit a structure into that. And then we did what we call a mid-level fixed bridge that actually raised the top of rail a little bit to give even more clearance beneath the low steel, so that the tugs could potentially get underneath the bridge with the timing of the tides working out. The mid-level alternative didn't allow us to get as high as we wanted to get to definitively provide that clearance for those tugs. So through conversations with Divine Brothers and Buchanan Marine and other providers that ship to Divine Brothers, there wasn't a high level of confidence that that clearance could be provided consistently. More importantly, the construction of the mid-level alternative was actually the most complex in order to actually get it done while limiting all of the impacts. So that one was kind of ruled out from that perspective. And the low level didn't provide any appreciable improvement to the vertical clearance, and that too was ruled out from further consideration as part of the environmental document. So there was actually 3 fixed bridge alternatives based on their levels of vertical clearance.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And the only thing I'd add, and I think I offered it earlier, is that there's a number of information relative to the alternatives that were considered and the information relative to them on the website.